Hello folks, welcome back to Reality Check with Arvind Swaminathan. Today is a very serious problem. Not just a problem, but it's right on Delhi's doorstep. But first, let's take a little trip back to Manipur. We've all heard of this infamous video which surfaced about the middle of July, just before the Parliament session and the monsoon session of Lok Sabha convened, about a woman being paraded naked, and things like this, and rapes and so on. Now, why did it appear at this time? This video was shot, we told, around May the 4th. Why was it kept under wraps for 2.5 months? Because it was designed to surface just before Parliament session. Why? That's a difficult one, not a very difficult one to answer. It is the odd way in which the opposition's tiny little mind works. All the opposition parties, especially the Congress, they're past masters at this. Disruption, disturbance, to ensure that no work can get done by anybody else. They have no desire to do any work. They have no idea on what to do, what India needs, how to make India progress. They don't. They might let you progress up to ground level or maybe grassroots level or maybe an inch of grass growing. But they won't let you get to shrub level or tree level. Why? Because if we become intelligent enough to get to that level, they can't rule over us. We cease to be their colony. And the Congress since 1947, well, even before that, their whole idea of driving the British out was to take over India as their colony. And we're still suffering as a result. Now the odd thing is, and the very shocking fact is, that we haven't got out of that mindset yet. Why are we allowing such people to railroad us into backwardness? Because let's face it, if we are held back, everybody else is going forward. We become backward. Now do remember something. Why did Manipur suddenly flare up? Well, the Manipur government took action against what turned out to be Cookies and Rohingyas. Why? Because they were producing or growing poppies for opium production. All illegal. And they were going into the drug trade. Which means you had Pakistanis involved, you had the drug mafia involved, and you had one or two other interested parties, maybe even the Chinese. Remember, they're not very far away from Manipur on Coco Islands. Right? Why? Now, in today's paper, the thing that carried a bit of news, they said 21,786 arrests had been made. To do with what? The drug trade. That means the drug trade or drug trafficking or drug smugglers all the way from Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal, Haryana, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Now you think of that number. You think of the amount of drugs coming in. Now whether it's this Manipur drugs were coming in through the Assam corridor, through the Bangladesh and West Bengal corridor, or Bangladesh into Nepal, into Pakistan and from there into India, or directly through Nepal. You think of the amount of resources we need just to check it at borders. And here we have it being grown in our own land, in our own country. And of course, the moment you step in there, what happens? The Kukis and the Rohingyas get together and start taking it out on Métis, which becomes communal. Why? Look, in 1947 there were only 4,000 Christians in Manipur. Today, Christians, the Kukis, constitute 44% of Manipur's population. The Métis, who are Hindus, are in the plains. They're about 45%. Now see the difference. See the difference in the demography and the religious bias. Now these Kukis and Rohingyas started raiding Métis areas, telling them to get out. Leave their belongings, leave their homes and get out. If they didn't, they started burning the place. Now this is another case of where it's no longer just a disturbance or a riot. When they start using gunfire and such weapons, you can tell it's no longer a something small. Plus, we've had varied reports that people dressed in army uniforms, usually fake ones, start attacking areas. And most of them were attacking Métis, trying to drive them out. Now where do those Métis go? Why are Métis, who are the original inhabitants, being driven out of their own land? Who by? Kukis and Rohingyas. Remember, Kukis and Rohingyas came in from Myanmar on the eastern border. Plus, a lot of Rohingyas would come in from Bangladesh. You see the danger there. I mean, Bangladesh is a constant thorn in our sides, apart from Pakistan on this side. Why? And who are they targeting? Métis, who are basically Hindus. It is no longer a small matter. From now on, Mr. Shah, you are the Home Minister, and Mr. Rajnath Singh, you are the Defence Minister. You have to find troops to put down such uprisings. Because it is no longer, as I said, a riot, it is armed insurgency. Once gunfire comes into the business, it's no longer a small matter. This coincides with Parliament. That's when the whole news comes out. Now switch to Delhi's doorstep, the Mewat region. Nuh and Gurugram used to be known as Gurgaon. Remember, a large chunk of what is known as the Mewat region is actually in Rajasthan. In both Manipur and in this disturbance in the Mewat region, everything was pre-planned. You can see that. It didn't just happen overnight or spur of the moment. And what happened in Nuh, in the Mewat region, is really disturbing. Why? A video emerged on one of the news channels. We heard gunshots. Now, not just gunshots, an ordinary handgun or a rifle or something, but these were heavy weapons. It could almost have been a heavy machine gun. Not automatic weapon, but single shot. Most of those machine guns can be trained or tracked or set to do either one, single shot or automatic or repeaters. This one was targeting. And whom did they target? There was a procession going in that area. A procession which happened every year. It's been going on for 3 or 4 years. Why was it targeted? Remember, not so long before, but a week before, there had been a Muharram procession. Nothing happened there. So why was this Hindu procession targeted? Now then, there was a temple there. All these devotees were going there. And there were hills around this. Now these guns were placed in that hillside, and from there they were fired in towards the temple and into the marketplace nearby. You could see people running, taking cover behind cars and things like this. 3,000 devotees took shelter in the temple. Plus, it didn't stop there. This gunfire continued and kept hitting the temple walls. The superstructure outside was damaged. Now, when this sort of thing happens, you've got to understand that heavy weaponry had to be taken up that hill. It had to have been in place before, well before. That is why I say it was pre-planned. A whole lot of them rushed 10 kilometers away, went into a hospital, broke things, beat up people. And from what we heard, they actually asked people, what denomination were they, which religion? If they were Hindu, they got beaten up. I mean, what kind of nonsense is this? The fact that they must have had strong political backing from somewhere. Why? They attacked not only policemen, but also the home guard. Home guard, 50 or 60 of them were injured. One was actually killed. Could they dare to do that unless they had strong political patronage? No. Which is what makes me suspect they came in via Rajasthan. I think the police should do well to find out who were they. Were they Rohingyas, were they Bangladeshis, or were they locals who had been trained in all this? You see, all this seems to be armed insurgency. Manipur, Mewat, which is almost less than 100 kilometers from Delhi. It's no longer a joke. Now I'll say this one more thing. So far, always, Muslims were frightened. Who said so? These were Muslim mobs. The Rohingyas and the Christian cookies, they were not frightened people. They were well armed. They had a plan. These ones in the Mewat region, everything was pre-planned, including guns. Where did they get them from? What about the ammunition? One wonders, what was Rahul Gandhi doing in New York not so long ago? Why was he allowed to go there? Particularly when he starts going around as a special guest with his friends, a Pakistan-based jihadi group. What was he doing with them? Was this his way of getting Americans, the British and the Europeans to intervene in India to save democracy? You call this democracy? Now I'll say something which very few people would dare to say. No, I don't think any news channel. Maybe one would say, why are Hindus being targeted, and why does no politician ever say, why are Hindus being targeted? They always say, oh, these frightened Muslims, their minorities are being targeted. They're not. It is the minorities who are targeting the majority community. And it goes back to what the Congress has been doing since 1947. Forcing Hindus either become Muslim or Christian or suffer. I think I pointed this out in previous videos of mine. Islamic people are being given everything, almost to say that they're even above the law. The law has no effect on them. Why? Because they refuse to recognize the IPC unless it helps them. They don't want Sharia law when it means chopping off their hands. Then they'll go back to Jinnah's 1937 Sharia Act, where all this has been taken out. No beheading, no chopping off of hands. And then female inheritance of property is exempted from that. Why? Why is there this glaring inequality which Congress seems to want to protect. When the Constitution guarantees equality and secularism, why is the Congress doing the opposite? The Congress, like anybody else, when they take the oath of office, they swear to protect and defend and uphold the Constitution. Why are they going against it? Why are they throwing the Constitution into the dustbin? And we vote them into power? What kind of idiots are we? When are we going to grow up? You know, I too used to be a staunch Congress voter until 1975. Since then, never. Because it is the Congress which destroyed democracy. How many of you actually remember? You remember it? 1975? No election that year? Why? What did you call it? The emergency. You forgotten it? Or don't you remember it? Weren't you alive then? That was the death of democracy. And nothing has changed since then. Now you see this Supreme Court judgment. If Rahul Gandhi had to serve that sentence, what would it have been? The electorate would have been affected. In what way? What message has the Supreme Court sent to the electorate? That a politician can do anything and get away with it. The law doesn't apply to him. Yes, I am angry today. Because there is no Supreme Court, there is no legislator, there is no legal framework in this country anymore. It is either owned by the Congress or somebody else. It is not impartial. There is no such thing as justice is blind. It isn't. Justice belongs to he who can pay for it. That's it. That's the message that's been sent out. And this particular Chief Justice, well, the sooner he's removed, the better. Because we need a committed and an impartial judiciary. Not this sort of rubbish. Again, why are Muslims given everything in this country? They rule us. Why? Again, the minority ruling the majority. The tail wagging the dog. And make no mistake, this thing in Nuh is a pre-planned armed insurgency. And Mr. Amit Shah and Mr. Rajnath Singh, get your act together, stamp it out. Send a message, clear message to them, loud and clear. You start this, all hell will break loose, and make sure it does. Otherwise, we're heading straight for anarchy. And please remember, this is not an isolated incident. Remember 3 or 4 years ago, when Donald Trump, then President of the USA, was visiting India. You remember Shaheen Bagh, Northeast Delhi riots? How many people died there? And the courts are still trying to figure out who, when it is there for play so plain to see. Politicians, who was it? Tahir Hussain and Amanatullah Khan and such people who were behind it. Now in this new incident, not only gunfire, swords, knives, lathis, and Molotov cocktails or petrol bombs, all used. Now they don't just happen on the spur of the moment. Where did they come from? Who planned it? Find out and make sure he never has the guts to even think about it again. Because we need law and order desperately in this country, and anybody who backs that deserves to be hung upside down by his toenails for the rest of his life. That is the least of his punishments. Yes, I am angry. And I think I have reason to be. I spent a great deal of time trying to help this country of ours. I've grown old doing it. And I don't like what I see from these political monsters. The things they get up to, the things they do, the things they're doing to us, it beggars belief. And how do we let them get away with it? Why? Is money that important to us? Is this what Rahul Gandhi was telling people at Chatham House in London or in New York, that they should intervene? Now, who else did Rahul Gandhi meet over in New York? Would you believe the George Soros organization, Open Society Foundation? Why would he do that? How much of it is their propaganda here and their planning here? Think about that. Muslim mobs, not only armed with normal weapons which we know about, swords and lathis and knives, and even nowadays Molotov cocktails, and of course stone throwing or stone pelting, but now heavy guns, heavy gunfire. What next? I mean, don't you get up and react to something like this? And this is right on Delhi's doorstep. How far is Gurugram from Delhi? And Gurugram is where it has spread to. So many multinationals have their offices there. What is it doing to our trade, our GDP? I mean, targeting our GDP. Why? You don't want us to progress? You want to drag us back in? Is this what the opposition has been doing? Well, it's exactly what the opposition has been doing for so long. If Modi and co want to take us up, these guys want to drag us back. Because they don't want us to go above grassroots level. They don't want us to go up high. They don't want us to be the third largest GDP in the world. Why? What have they got against the people of this country? Is this what politics is all about? If it is, then please get it out of here. We don't need it. Because people deserve a chance to be somebody, to get somewhere, to get out of the poverty we've been thrown into. We would like to get out of it. And don't treat this lightly, because Mewat and Manipur are armed insurgencies and need to be treated as such. Thank you, folks. I hope you pass this one on to all your friends, relatives, and your groups and ask them to pass it on further. Because this is a message everybody in this country needs to know. And know fast. And take action. Because the next general election is less than a year away. It's only, 8 or 10 months away. Let's get real. Let's get up out of that stupor. Let's jog Rip Van Winkle awake. Okay, folks. Thank you. See you next time.